exactly what is out there?
Welcome to BevanWorld this week, the Explosion Network's breakdown show where we talk about Westworld and all the great things that are happening in the show, HBO's Westworld. Joining me as always, Nicholas Pryor.
That's me.
That is indeed you. We've got a hell of an episode.
Do we ever?
Do we ever have a hell of an episode to break down today? I would say that this is the episode. I haven't read much into it. Just I haven't been on the Reddits much for this week because I was at work. I watched it yesterday. Went to work. Blah 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 blah. But have you had a look? What's the general consensus for this one? Have you seen the Twitter public that thinks the show has nothing happened?
Actually, since we talked about it that episode, I haven't seen anything on Twitter about it. To be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
So everyone's calmed the fuck down.
Yeah. Either that or I just don't see it.
I don't see it much anyway. And I swear, if you could say anything after this episode about the freaking show having nothing happen, I would like to argue a point. Now, before we get into like the general rigmarole, run through, do the actual show, and your actual impressions of the episode, I want to point out one thing. I feel like, I know it's only 2 seasons into Westworld so far, but I feel like this show is doing what Game of Thrones fucked up in the last couple seasons, and it's just not dragging out its storylines, really. Everyone keeps, like, we talked about the whole thing about people complaining that not much is happening, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, in this episode, they give so many answers, and of course more questions, but at the same time, they haven't dragged out so many things that, in my mind, because it's a HBO show and because I'm used to Game of Thrones and all that sort of stuff, that I expected them to drag out until next season or the end of the season at least. So
I think if HBO were doing Game of Thrones on their own, like if it was kind of their own story, it wouldn't be as dragged out. But because they're kind of following the books, they do it that way. So that's how the story's told in the books, I guess.
Yeah, but and then I mean, our biggest problem, we were the 2 biggest negative talkers on Game of Thrones for its last season, and it's like as soon as they got off the books, it kind of went to shit though. So that's the thing. It's like, and Westworld doesn't have a guiding path. No. I mean, it's based on a book, movie, whatever. But I mean, it's just based on. It's not like following the exact same story, or anything like that. So they're just basically doing whatever they want. So I'm loving it. I'm loving how they're answering more questions. I think that's a real positive, and it's a positive for the show that they're not going to do the usual TV thing of dragging out so many storylines.
Do you like the way that they're answering everything though? Because it feels like episode 7 should be titled Exposition Dump.
No, because I feel like they're going to do it if they don't have more to go, you know? Like, I feel like most TV shows, if they drag out stuff like this or big cliffhangers, it's because they need to, because that's the storyline for the season. They need to drag it out. They don't know what else they're doing. Whereas, like, I feel like this is a show, and I'm going to put my trust in Nolan and I forget who the
crew.
Hey, and the crew. Well, it's created by him, and I think it's the girl, but like I think it's like Nicole someone or something. But trust in them that they've kind of got at least some sort of several season arc planned out, which they talked about like 5 seasons or something along those lines. So I feel like that's why they can. It's not like them just dumping a bunch of information because they have to, and it's not reactionary to like what was happening, like people talking about on Twitter. You know, it's not like it's a reaction because it's not filmed week by week. You know, like they're not up to episode 16 filming episode 20 and they can fix stuff while they're filming it. So I think it's just all part of the plan. So what do you think of this week's episode that was I don't know how to say the fucking word. It's titled Encroaches? I don't know.
I believe the translation of that is torture or something like that. Hold on.
No, look it up. Directed by Nicole Castle, written by Jordan Goldberg and Ron Fitzgerald. Episode 7, of course. What was Tormented, okay. What did you think overall of this episode? And where would you rank it? Because it's obviously one of the better episodes.
Pure immediate after reaction would probably be up there this season, like maybe even number 1.
Yeah. I mean, up until this stage, what episode was probably the best one? 4?
Oh, yeah, before maybe 1, because I just raised all those questions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I think this is undeniably
Yeah.
the best episode. It had the most happening. And I'm not just talking about giving us answers, questions, seeing forward back, of course, having Anthony Hopkins on the screen. Sorry, Sir Anthony Hopkins on screen is helpful because he's just such a presence. But it's also the first time that we've had so many big players interacting with one another when a lot of the season so far has everyone off kind of doing their own thing. You know, Man in Black's over here, Maeve's over here, Dolores is over here, all the humans are over here, and we finally have a lot of these characters coming face to face, interacting with each other, actual having drama within the show with the big players, not the solo acts having drama with smaller supporting characters where it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's not Defenders. So Rock Mummy in the chat. Lisa Joy, Jonathan Nolan, and Haley Weigren Gross are the writers for FYI. Creators are Lisa and Jonathan. Well, I knew it was a girl.
Is Lisa and Nolan?
No, Lisa Joy.
Oh.
I knew it was a girl. I just couldn't. Sorry, I couldn't remember her name. To be fair, I don't remember Jonathan Nolan's name because he's the guy. It's because his last name's Nolan. It kind of stings.
The other Christopher.
He has a popular brother, in case you weren't aware. But yeah, this episode I thought was really, really great. It's not like, it wouldn't be like my favorite episode of Westworld overall. There would still be ones from season 1 that I think are just better. But it's still like up there.
It's the most shock value too.
And yeah, just most shock value because of course we've got people dying, people you think are going to die, lots of crazy stuff happening. It was constantly like, whoa, this is episode 7, guys. Like, do you want to slow the horses down? Does the show just go to shit after this, or are we like full steam ahead after this? You kind of have to wonder. All right, so now we're just going to jump into, as always, kind of run through the show bit by bit as stuff happened in the episode and break down all the things that have been happening. So we start in the future timeline. And before, I want to point out, I was reading someone else's article, actually, after the episode, where they referred to the future timeline that I call the future timeline, that we've agreed is the future, as the present, because it's the most present time in the thing. But I'm like, it doesn't make sense, because it's like when you're talking about the past, and then you're talking about anything before that, you're saying like past. Yeah. So, I mean, we agreed the present is like the middle timeline, which makes sense, it's easier to understand. Present is in the middle of the future and the past. You know? Fuck you and your stupid understanding of time. The way we do it here at BevanWorld's a lot better. Whatever.
It's just for the sake of ease.
Yeah, it's way easier to understand. You know,
quality of life.
Quality of life. Yeah, I know these are all going horrible. All right, so in the future timeline, Bernard awakes on the ground holding a photo of his family. Stubbs, old mate, we know the actor's name because he's got a more popular.
Famous brothers.
It's all about it's all about the less famous brothers. That's a good point. So he comes in and talks about how the Delos team quote, make sure no one knows about their project and to keep it quiet.
I know Stubbs' motivation in that, but this just comes as very sus.
What, him just charging in and be like, we need to get out of here, kind of thing? Well, I suppose up until this point, he hasn't, in this future timeline, until this point, he hasn't seemed that off. Like, he's been pretty on board. But, of course, in this episode later, we get the scene where he has the whole altercation with Charlotte and all that sort of stuff. So, and that's set before this. So we know up until this point now that the future Stubbs has had that altercation, which means he does have the wavering. He does understand that Delos is not there to protect him or anything like that. So I think with that information, it kind of helps, but you don't have that information when you're at the start of the episode. And it kind of makes more sense if you was to rewatch it, I think. So he comes in and then old mate fucking Baldy Prick or whatever. I can't remember that guy's name.
Gustav Skarsgård, I think his name is.
That guy. He comes in. Got straight away, and the scene was a bit weird because up until this point, everyone's been playing nice, but he walks in with two guys, guns drawn, all sorts of stuff, and he's like, Stubbs, Bernard, you've got to come with me. And he walks him out to the bush, and he says that one of them have a key that he needs, and might be trying to sell it off to the highest bidder. Of course, later in the episode, we find out that this key is what's in Abernathy's head. Yep. And Dolores has got the key somewhere, or has it on her, or has hidden it somewhere. Blah, 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 blah. And this key is going to be the thing that opens the vault of all human consciousness that they've been collecting, which we'll talk about later, of course. So he thinks that they've got the key for whatever reason. No, he doesn't. That's silly. Don't be going about it. So they go up to the house where Ford took Ford took Bernard when he killed what's the fuck?
Executive lady.
Executive lady. Yeah, I should have wrote down no, I forgot to. I'm sorry. But the one he bashed in her head last season.
Yeah.
When she found out thing. What do you want to tell me what this comment from Rocker Mummy means in the chat? Because I don't. Okay,
just earlier in the season, I said the actor plays Flaky in Vikings, and you
Oh right, yeah. Yes, okay, that guy. Okay, thank you. They find the project. They're going in, and Charlotte comes up. She's already there, of course, because she's just creeping around everywhere. That's what she does. Yep. She says that the project is quite the turning point for the human species. Once again, a line that makes a lot more sense when you come back to the end of the episode, and we have the confirmation that it's about human consciousness being like they're trying to become robots, which is what we've been talking about. So a lot of these lines, when you go back, this is the episode I feel like makes a lot more sense when you rewatch it. In fact, the entire season, there's going to be lots of moments that are going to make more sense, and definitely when you go back and if you want to rewatch it, I feel like at the end of it. So they head into the place. They're in the room. There's the blood stain on the wall. They're trying to find a blah 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 blah. The secret passageway behind where Bernard bashed the blood in.
Before they go in there, they're like, "Oh yeah," they're talking about who was trying to sell the key, and I don't know. It kind of felt they already knew that he was a host, and they were just like playing into his thing because
I thought that too.
He so quickly threw fucking dismissed Bernard and went straight onto Stubbs. Was just like that.
Yeah, I know.
Where this guy doesn't know anyone from a pinch of shit, really. He should be suspect of everyone.
It seemed to me like it was a they were basically fucking with Stubbs to fuck with Bernard because they already knew Bernard was the host or whatever. It was a little bit weird, I thought. And this was an odd moment. So they walk into the room. Well, they go for the hallway. They walk into the room. One of the rooms, there must be more there because it was like a corridor and they walk into one room. I'm like, where else did this go? Was that it? A corridor to a secret room? Bit weird. But in the
thing to note too is also when they do the Dolores Bernard's things in season 1, how they're talking in those scenes in that room. From Bernard's perspective, that door's not there.
Like blocked out from his memory kind of thing. Like the door Ford hadn't
doesn't look like anything.
Doesn't look like anything to me. Yeah, that makes sense. But so in the room there's a bunch of Bernards. They all look like ones that were like died. I
think they're previous iterations.
Previous iterations of some sort. Which I'm going to drag into my theory that I was going on about last week about the several different Bernards and then the one where they actually put his consciousness actually inside the Bernard. I'm going to stick to that maybe a little bit. We don't know. I'm not giving up on that. And I kind of have more
versions too, because one of them had the older version of the host where the face opens up and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So just saying.
So his Bernard version 13 point.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So just want to point that out there. So then, of course, everyone realizes that Bernard is in fact a host. Which this whole season's about everyone slowly discovering that Bernard is in fact a host. It's a whole thing. They drag Bernard back to the station, the main room, whatever you want to call it, and then they begin waterboarding him, but like psychological by pressing a button, waterboarding him.
I got a screen grab from that. There's also other different tortures that they got built in. There's crushing, denailing, dental torture, disembowelment, dismemberment, electrical injury, foot whipping, force feeding, kneecapping, medical torture, pharmacological torture, psychological torture, scalping, solitary confinement, standing cell, and waterboarding. My question straight away was, why are these features into the host? Exactly.
Because the thing is, the hosts are designed so that they can just legit go debug mode, here's the question, and they're supposed to just answer it. So but they've built in a torture mechanism for a scenario that's not actually supposed to happen where they will refuse to answer questions. It was a bit weird, I thought. But the idea of torturing them via, like not actually, but making it feel because of a kind of cool idea, but it just didn't make sense to me, really, for it to be a feature they would need to.
The other thing I can think of is they're like digitally like enabling that, whereas those things are inbuilt into their program, so when it's actually happening to them, the host in the park, it switches that on, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I suppose that could make sense.
So when that stimuli is happening to the body, it turns on whatever that program is.
So if a guest is literally waterboarding a host because Westworld.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, I can buy that theory.
Yeah.
I'll accept this. Like the pulling off the nails, whatever. Who knows what fucked up people are doing. That does make sense. I will accept this as an answer. So then Charlotte finally gets an answer out of Bernard because she's trying to find out where the control unit is. And she brings in everyone else, asks him, like, where is the control unit, blah, 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 blah. And he says, oh, it's in Sector 16.
No, that's way later.
Oh, that's way later. Sorry. He just says that it's...
he doesn't remember.
He doesn't really remember. And then she says, we'll find out what Dolores did with her father's control unit.
It shows that you were in the Mesa
you were
at
in
that
here
point.
when she
So I'll tell you what happened, and then it might jog your memory or something like that.
Yep. And then we do the whole, like, flashback to the present timeline thing.
Yeah.
Quote unquote present, what we call the present when we talk about the timeline correctly on this show. Thank you. Dolores and her army have marched into the facility. We kind of skip how she, like, this was my thing last week. Remember when I was like, the train, because you were like, the part that was the bomb was the front end of the train, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then the back end of the train has literally kind of stopped somewhere. And it's magically stopped in a good spot where they've then got horses and rode the horses to the facility where they just put the... You know what I'm saying? Like, when you...
Look, you've played Red Dead. There's horses everywhere.
But it's a cool way to start the show if it's like... They you know, it's cool. They're all walking in. It looks very cool with them walking down the corridor, the guns drawn. Badass, right? But after the way it left last episode, and I was already very confused about their whole plan, I'm still just like, I don't really get it. You bombed the entrance. I don't know what that did. I still don't know what that did. All we saw was...
distraction, I guess.
Distraction. Literally after this scene, we see Stubbs like walking like, they're coming, get ready.
Yeah.
It's a fucking distraction. The bomb, but yeah, I don't. This is one of my. There's a few negatives to this episode, and between the last and this one, it's very cool. But this is one of those story moments where I just don't understand how any of the bomb, the train, get the horses, ride there. All of that was a bit ridiculous to me. Nonetheless, I'm willing to forgive it because it was a cool episode, and sometimes you just have to blind eye to whatever. So Dolores. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, Stubbs walks into the main room. Charlotte, Abernathy, they're all on about it with the dude from where...
Tob was his name.
Tob?
Yeah, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And he's like, oh, they're all... The army of robots are here. We've got to get out of here. And, of course, they're all like, we're not going to fucking leave here. We're going to put up a fight. Because they're silly. And they don't understand how badass everyone is. And they've got cool suits coming. So... I still want to know the explanation for these suits and why they're made. It was like this is a very video gamey aspect. So you see like the special forces of Delos kind of suit up, ready to go take on Dolores and her group. And they put on these suits with a bunch of lights. Now from what
haptic vest.
Yeah, haptic. So how it works is it must be able to sense hosts or like robots or something.
The way she explained is that they hacked into like a limited version of their neural field or whatever that the hosts share, and so when they're near,
it lights up and vibrates.
Yeah, and vibrates. Yeah, it vibrates in the direction that they're in.
Yeah, so it makes sense. It was just like a one of those random.
I thought that was really cool, actually.
I mean, it's cool, but it was just like they spent the person they put in it and have him be like, I'm tingling ready. You know, he said some ridiculous line. I was like...
This is another big my issue. It's been the whole season, really, how fucking stupid the security forces have been.
They are really bad.
Absolutely.
Like, really fucking bad.
Like, really bad even for the level of the show. Like, they should realise that it's fucking stupid.
Are they supposed to be stupid, though, just because like the show's about the...
I don't know.
Robots being better, so...
I feel like it's too big of an oversight. There has to be a reason. Maybe they're all hosts or something.
Maybe. That's still a theory that's very plausible, and in fact, it becomes more and more plausible the further we get into the fucking season, really. So, I'm not willing to say it's not impossible. And Westworld's actually just a digital park after all.
Yeah.
Fuck it, let's go that far. Let's just say
The kid puts the controller down. He goes, "Dinner's ready."
He's like, "Dinner's ready." Mum stands up, end of season 5. Everyone's sitting at home watching. It's like, what the fuck? We're on here doing the show for the 4th season of BevanWorld, and we're like, we wasted 4 years of our life, HBO. So the humans go in. They manage to kill a few here. There, it was a very video gamey type scene shot too, where they're like walking through this hallway with like there's nothing in this place as far as I can tell. It was like a garage, like where you park cars or something, you know, or like literally one of those places you go to play laser tag.
Yeah,
it's very weird. And he's got the laser tag vest on as well. And you know, hosts like appear out of the corner, like, I'm ready, but I'm not shooting. And it just comes out and it's like, beep, beep. It's like, House of the Dead. They just pummel down bodies. It was a bit weird. But then they come across a bunch of dead bodies. They walk up to them. They're like, what are these things? Oh, they're actually humans. Holy shit. This is the response team. Yeah. And then Dolores and Teddy and whoever else come around the corner. They've all got the uniforms and their weapons on now from the people they killed, and they mow them all down. That was kind of cool. I thought that shot where they kind of appeared out of the corner and was like, kill them all.
Saw it coming a mile away.
You saw it coming, but it was cool because we'd already seen. If you watch the teaser for next week, you also saw them in the uniforms and all this other stuff. So it's like sometimes watching those teasers is bad if you want.
I think I was glad that I didn't get to see it actually.
Like it gave away also the moment where they walk in and they find old Bernard's things. So, but I feel like I have to watch them. I kind of need to. Can't help myself. So then they see on the screen and they hear, you know, on the radios that the team's been cut down, and Charlotte decides to order to have Abernathy's head cut open and just rip his quote unquote brain out. I'll copy it. Sorry,
she wants to copy it to transfer the data.
Yeah, she's like, copy it onto another thing, and then the guy's like, "Oh, it's going to take ages," or you know,
we've got USB 2 here. We need at least USB 3.
Yeah, something like that. And she's like, "Just do it." And then after all that, we cut back to Bernard, who is of course in the cradle with little old 40 again. I'm glad they didn't open the show with. Because, of course, it's the big cliffhanger, but I hate when shows just straight away answer it. I much prefer, like, don't tease it out all fucking episode and go to it at the end of the episode, but don't open it on forward again because it's just too obvious. I like how they spent time and then we get back to it. So I've just got random quotes I was writing down basically as what Ford was saying here. Yeah. And there's a lot to go over, including the poem that you sent me yesterday that I didn't know that was actually... He was quoting something. I thought it was, you know, he was made up for the show. Yeah. But that's what he's saying first is as the show, as the scene opens, he's sitting at the piano still and he's quoting 4 to 5 paragraphs or lines, however you talk about each section of a poem. Stanzas. Thank you. That's the word. Of this poem that's very, very long. Do you have it open in front of you? What's it called?
I'm opening it up now.
It's called Auguries of Innocence by William Blake. And it is I went through it. I gotta be honest.
A lot of this towards the bottom that's the most relevant. There's 3 quotes. Hold on, just give me a second while I get it up.
I got it. He says, when we see not through the eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night, when the soul slept in beams of light, God appears and God is light. To those poor souls who dwell in night, but does a human form display to those who dwell in realms of day. That's like the end of it. And the thing is very long as far as poems go. Yeah. I feel. I know there's a lot longer, but this is like not short. And I read it all last night, and I'm just going to be completely honest. I got nothing from it. You can tell me if you got anything. I got nothing.
Well, the lines are, some are born to sweet delight, some are born to endless night. Like, some of them, like the hosts are waking up, and some of them are just not, like, just born to die. And the whole thing about God, that Ford sees himself as the whole God in this situation kind of thing.
And it's like...
Because he literally has a God complex. He thinks...
Very much.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious this episode, but it's like he's God, or he considers himself God, and he's, like, trying to be, like... free his his
Yeah.
children or something. I don't. But at the same time, like what he does with Bernard later isn't freeing, obviously. So it's not like it's like kind of like Dolores. Like I'll help 99% and fuck with a couple people still. Yeah. So it's like he thinks he's all good.
Break a few eggs.
In his break his few eggs. In his mind, it's like whatever he's doing is great, amazing. I don't really know. He thinks he's on this righteous path, but yeah. So if you want to look up that poem, Auguries of the Innocents by William, what was it, Blake? Yes, William Blake. Thank you. That's a thing you can read. And then I was, because he was saying a lot of stuff after this poem, and I was just trying to write down some quotes of random stuff that would stand out. So one of the things he says is he's talking to Bernard, and they're walking across, they walk outside the bar, they walk across the road, they're still going. It's just like expedition, and lots of story and just a lot of crap just coming out of his mouth at such a fast pace that I'm like, all of this seems relevant and I should be able to. He says, you think James Delos would have spent all that money just to resurrect himself? He was a businessman. Yeah. Which straight away, as soon as he says that, I'm like, oh, we're going there, are we? We're going to that. Because of course, Facebook level. Yeah, which is a theory we was talking about since like episode 2, that the whole park was, or the big secret thing was that they're all just copying, and there's going to be actual different people other than Delos and all this sort of stuff. He says, and this is to add to his God complex again, I don't think God rested on the seventh day. I think he reveled in his revelation. Yeah. Which is, Ford is in there, literally. This
is Ford's metaphorical seventh day. He's like watching it all unfold.
Yeah, and not actually a day, like it's just like a period in his life day kind of thing. Seventh day, he's in the period of his life, So we then get the confirmation that Bernard did indeed that the little brain thing that we saw him going about, that was indeed Ford that he brought to the cradle right before he went out and got shot by Dolores. We got confirmation of that.
Like anyone would have any doubt about that
at this stage, but it's always nice to actually get like without doubt, because in these shows it's like if you have doubt, there's room for questioning at all points, and you can't just want confirmation for things in shows like this, so you can move on and start theorizing about other stuff and not have to worry about certain things. Just give me 100%. Thank you very much. He says, ever wonder why the host stories haven't changed in X amount of years? The park is an experiment, a testing chamber. And this was straight away, like, my brain started going at this stage to the Man in Black theory, you know, because we had that whole theory about him being in the park, and this is his trying to find that point that they couldn't get Delos to. Like the whole park is him just wandering around. They're trying to get him to that stage, and his daughter was in there to help him and all this sort of stuff. So when he started saying it's a testing ground, an experiment, I was like, oh, we're there. Ooh. We're there. Are we going there? But then we're not going there. We go to the other direction. He says that yes, the guests have been decoded, as they've been in the park. So, I mean, how do you want to think about it? It's like, do the hosts have software in them that is constantly scanning the guests and gathering information, or are there sensors like literally built into the park everywhere to scan them all? You know what I mean? Like,
the way I interpreted it, like, I have no basis for this, but just the fact that they've been observing them. I don't know technically how they've been doing it, but they've been observing them some way.
I suppose it could just be as simple as literally cameras and then a software that's able to understand your...
It's future technology. Like, it can be tiny cameras everywhere kind of thing.
Yeah, so that would make sense. So yes, the old information of the guests are being copied to a big cloud server somewhere. We are Facebooking it horribly, where all your literally everything about you is being copied, stolen to a server somewhere.
So he was saying something like about in like a technological world, the brain is still the only analog thing left that they haven't been able to digitize or something.
But they're working on it. He said, but this other thing, another important line that Ford has in here, because we've been talking all season about who's actually free? Like, is Dolores actually free? Is Maeve actually free? Are they all on the storylines? Are they being controlled by Arnold and all this sort of, stuff behind the scenes?
I think the whole Arnold thing is out of play now.
And I think, well, so Ford says, quote, they're all free.
Yeah.
He literally says, quote, they're all free. Dolores is free. They're all free. So he's saying that he's not controlling anyone. And if we're going to believe Ford, then Dolores she's not on the storyline. Maeve isn't on the storyline. No one's on the storyline. Maybe they're fighting still with that storyline stuff that's left over, but everyone's free to a degree. Well, everyone that's actually awakened is free. And I want to talk a bit more about what's the difference between being actually awakened than just like following orders from Dolores and a lot of people, because we have a really good moment with Lawrence later that kind of to talk about that. But so if we're going to believe it, everyone's free, which up until now I was kind of on the road that Dolores was following a story, or the white story. So are you believing this, or are you just gonna
look, I don't know. He says it, so I guess I have no reason not to believe it, but also Ford spins anything to fit his own narrative too.
That's true. Yeah. It's hard. It's like, do I believe anyone on the show, or do I just believe no one? Do I just not trust anyone?
And maybe his, I don't know, definition as free is different to everyone else's too. Yeah, free isn't like they're not under the control completely of Delos anymore.
They're under control of me, so they're free.
Yeah.
Maybe. Exactly. It's possible. He then says, quote, the project doesn't work. So and then he goes on to about how his mind would turn to rubbish within days if he left the cradle. Like it would degrade like James Delos's did. He's like, in here, I can be free, do whatever I want. It's fine. I don't reach that stage. But if I was to leave this place, it just wouldn't work. Even after X amount of years, and it's been a very long time, of course, that they spent doing it with Delos and whoever else that been working on technology, they still haven't been able to get that point.
Yeah, then he goes on to say something like they're more focused on the fidelity to get like an exact copy instead of, whereas what they did with Arnold was to get the essence of him down as opposed to him exactly. Yeah.
And they talk about that a little bit more when they talk about how Bernard had to be separated from Dolores because Dolores could always tell that it wasn't actually him.
Yeah. Fucking Dolores was there to test him to see how close they'd gotten.
Which is the scene that we got at the start of last week's episode. Exactly. Was a testing moment.
Which the whole time we thought it was him interviewing her when it was her interviewing him.
It was a 180. It was a good 180. So this all makes, and then the big tricky moment that we get later, of course, a bit later in the episode, is when Ford gets put in Bernard. So which is a weird thing.
He goes, "Yep, you're all free except for you, Bernard. You're mine now.
You're going to be mine." But it's weird. Bernard does ask Ford about his storyline because, of course, all the hosts this season have been on about the Valley Beyond, quote unquote, and whatever that is. And this was one of those lines where I'm like, this is where the show fucking with you. Like it's because Ford says, I'm not going to spoil my story. He's basically like, I don't want to spoil the end of my story. And I was like, that's the show creators having a very tongue-in-cheek.
Where did I say it? Only Westworld can explain everything to you, but also leave you more confused than ever.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's like, okay, keep going. And then Bernard's, what's the Valley Beyond? You give us the answer to that too. What's that? Everyone's on about. Nah, I don't want to spoil that. But I'll fucking give you answers for all this stuff and just fucking leave you hanging on this one.
That's for you to find out yourself.
Leave it out to you. We jump back to Maeve, who of course was left running with a daughter away from Ghost Nation. Last we seen her, and we also saw the Man in Black also running from Ghost Nation. And as I remember how last week I was talking about how I thought, because it had that really weird scene where it cut in between the Maeve stuff last episode, and it cut to like a 30-second scene of the Man in Black, and it was like, oh, they're all going to run into each other. Yeah, that happens in this episode, so it kind of makes more sense now. But last week I was still like, that is a really weird point to like cut to him for 30 seconds. But it was just to set up this episode.
I had to get that to set it up.
Yeah, they had to get that to set up this episode. So they do run into each other in this one, and Maeve runs with her daughter, and they hide in a building in this like rundown town. And then Man in Black comes in with his people and says, spread out, find a place to hide. We'll catch him in the crossfire, like plan. So he because of course he happens to, out of all the houses, out of all the fucking buildings, he happens to, of course, walk into the one where Maeve's hiding with his daughter, and she straight away gets flashbacks to the big defining Man in Black moment, which was like a memory she has, and a big moment to him as well, because it's like the turning point where he was always on about, if I could do that, then I'm the Man in Black, I'm not William, blah, 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 blah. So big moment for him. She starts going in. He, of course, because he thinks it's always fucking Ford, is like, really, Ford? You gotta, like, send her after me and do all this? Because he just thinks Ford's doesn't have anything better to do, but
fuck with William.
But fuck with William this entire time. And nicely, I do like, so Maeve pulls out the gun and is basically like, fuck off, and shoots him.
Yeah.
I will say, though, my only problem with this is she is less than 5 meters away. She also, last season, when she got set free, got the person on the computer system to up all of her systems to 10, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so if it was a video game character, she's someone with 10 out of 10 agility, 10 out of 10 shooting, 10 out of 10 smart, everything. So really, she shouldn't have missed, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, she just uploaded a bad aimbot sheet.
Yeah, well, it's like, and to go back, because I brought up The Matrix again last week, because I did watch it that week before the episode. It's no different than when they load in something in The Matrix, and it's like suddenly they can fly a plane, blah, 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 blah. She shouldn't have missed.
No.
She really should not have missed from that far away. And that is just one of those moments where they put characters into a room together, like main characters, and they don't want to kill one of them yet. So you have this really awkward moment that just doesn't make sense when you think about it. Because if it was anyone else, if it was a sub character, if it was a random Ghost Nation person, headshot, guaranteed it would have been headshot, because it's what she should have done. She was upgraded to be the fucking best. She got everything put up to 10.
The only thing I could maybe plausibly argue is that it was under duress, like a stressful situation for her, like a. Is
she supposed to get stressed? Like, stress is
I don't know.
It's a program too.
Woke, being like, I don't know.
I suppose
becoming human-like, I guess.
So then the stress program messes her 10 out of 10
how
skills.
free are they truly if they can just fucking change all their stats all the time?
Well, it's not all the time. It was just like that one guy in the little computer system dragged
them
all
up. What's to say they can't do it again?
I suppose it's true.
Like the Dolores fucking around with Teddy.
Yeah, it's true.
Grizzly.
True. But, you know, I still feel like it was just one of those moments where as soon as she shot him, I was like, cool. And then it was in the shoulder. I was like, straight away, my brain's just like, she shouldn't have missed, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was cool. And this whole following scene is really cool. I really, really quite enjoyed it. Because Man in Black, a character you love to hate. You know?
I don't think I love this scene. It's cool what happens. I still can't get my head around the Maeve thing. The whisper in the fucking background thing.
I think you're just going to have to give in to that.
I can't. It's just so lame. It's just... Oh.
I don't know how it works.
There has to be some reason like the theory for her to get it. Like, because at the moment, there's no different to her just saying it.
No.
Functionally, it's exactly the same.
It's like how Neo in The Matrix learns how to fly. I don't know. He can jump into him and change. I don't know.
I just don't. I don't think I'll ever like it until they do like
something cool with it.
Yeah,
yeah. And this isn't something cool again. This is no different than the samurais and stuff. Like plot wise, it's not important really. It's a cool moment because you get to see Man in Black finally fucking taught a lesson or two. But
yeah, I even think it would have been like stylish, like a bit stylized and cooler if she was saying to them, "Shoot him."
Yeah,
and he would then fully realize, it's
just leaves in the grass there. Yeah, so she uses her powers to search the area, I suppose, for other hosts.
Put out a radar swoop.
Send
out the UAV, 3 kills in a row.
Yes. To find whoever's around, and she of course finds all the people that came in with Man in Black. And he's like against the building, like, oh yeah, shot me. So he's like one of his dudes walking, he's like, get some cover, like, and then bang, gets shot in the fucking leg.
I think this is where it got the most shock, is where he got shot like he's been shot before. He's like, brushed it off.
When he got shot in the shoulder, I was like, sure.
Yeah.
When that second shot hit him from this dude in the leg, I was like, fuck.
Exactly.
Fuck,
Yeah.
we're going there. Okay. Yeah, that's why I like this thing, because although, of course, they don't actually kill him, he's pretty much like,
Yeah, they should have killed him. Like, as much as it would have pained me to see him die, like, you can't come back from this unless some fucking miraculous thing.
yeah,
I know what's going to happen. His daughter's going to find him and whatever, but after sustaining this many injuries at whatever advanced age he is,
yes.
and all the things he's done is just superficial wounds. He's got to have fucking internal organ damage and shit to fucking.
Yeah, but, well, when you see when Lawrence shoots him, it's like smack bang middle. Like they're gonna say it's straight between the heart and lungs. Lucky it missed any vital organs. Like it's gonna be some.
Lucky you're the man in black and you don't have a heart, Dad.
Yeah. Lucky your heart's so small because you, or else it would have really hit it. That's really weird. But I still think the scene's cool. It's just good to see him get fucked up. I feel, even though I didn't want him to die, but I do agree. At the same time, it would have been cool to see him die.
Yeah.
After just because
it would have been a big fuck you because a lot of the theories of the show bank on him getting to whatever.
It would have been a great fuck you to him as a character and also the audience, but a nice big fuck you to the audience, as in, like, you know how he was on about trying to get there and like this story and like blah blah blah. Just to randomly kill him would have been like, well, fuck you and fuck you. Like it would have been annoying, and I would have been like, fuck, we just spent so many episodes of him for no reason. But at the same time, I would have been like, that's brave. That's cool. I can buy it, and it would have made a lot more sense, but. So yeah, shoots him. Overdose comes in, shoots him. Big shootout. Maeve is just like blah blah blah. Someone else like strangles him when he's behind a cover, drags him around. Maeve, for some reason, instead of going up and taking him down, like she's just doing slow walk-bys while he's like killing the person who's like strangling. I'm like, that's a bit weird. Like you could just walk over while that dude's strangling him and like fucking stab him or something. I don't know. Don't you have a gun, lady? Jesus. So then. The big important moment of the scene, I feel like, is Lawrence comes in and he's pointing a gun at Maeve.
Put it down, lady, or whatever.
Yeah, put that gun down. And she comes in he comes in and then she's trying to turn him, of course, you know.
Yeah. And she's got like fucking shocked on his face because Lawrence is woke.
Yeah. And then she says something along the lines of, "Oh, you're awakened."
Yeah.
So
I think it was a really cool reveal to show that Lawrence was awake.
Like officially awakened now. Yeah, so that brings me to what I want to talk about. There is a difference we have here. There is a defining point and a line between what, like as Maeve describes, being awakened, and then everyone else who we kind of think is awakened, but they're not. Yeah. So you've got all these people that work for, or quote unquote work for, Dolores.
Yeah.
Including, like, as we get to later, her two main capos, if you want to call them that.
The like, Dolores Mafia.
Yeah, the Dolores two capos, those the blonde girl and the brunette girl. Yeah. Who both die later in the episode. But like you would consider them awakened, but I don't think they're actually awakened. No. You know what I mean? Like they're able to take orders from Dolores and kind of make some decisions themselves and all this sort of stuff. Like even Teddy, decisions, he's got characters working, but he's not like fully awakened. And I think the defining point is if you're fully awakened, you must. Well, I mean, the description is you can't be taken control of by Maeve.
Yeah,
is the
I think that that's definitely awakened, not awakened.
Yeah,
whether Maeve can fucking whisper into your head.
Yeah, is the big difference. So I mean. We was worried about his superpowers getting ridiculous, I suppose. Yeah. They have a way out, kind of, if everyone else gets actually awakened, at which point her superpowers aren't as powerful as they are. Yeah. It's not like she can hack literally anything that's Delos property with her brain. Yeah. It's just the ones that are still in the server, like actually in the server, not fully awake. So they kind of got a way out for superpowers now that gives me safety, I feel like makes me feel a little bit better about the whole thing. But I thought it was really cool how Lawrence was a character because there's not that many, like we're gonna say Dolores is, Maeve is, Lawrence is, like we can't really say anyone else is at this stage. So I feel like, so
we can assume, but we don't know for certain.
Bernard
Bernard would
be fully
is he though?
Yeah, well, he has his memories from everything,
Yeah.
and like even though he's struggling and he remembers things back and forth, I'd say that he's
Yeah, but
like,
at this point, is he now?
no, I wouldn't say later.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he still is, but he's just under control. He's under duress,
Mm.
so he's like fighting with a bad side of himself or something, I guess. So Lawrence gets back all the memories of all the bad shit that Man in Black has done to him over all the times he's brought back Otis Park, and then he eventually turns on Man in Black, walks on over to him, fucking shoots him smack bang in the middle of the stomach, and I was sitting there watching like, hot fucking damn.
You know, something I found really, really, like, I wouldn't say cool, but amazing is just when the Man in Black looks up and he goes like, shoot a Lawrence, and he's like fucking spitting. He looks really old and fucking vulnerable there. It looked like a completely different actor.
It looked like a completely different actor. In fact, they had that shot. Good point bringing this up. They had that shot in the teaser for this last week's episode, sorry. And I did not realize it was him at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was a random. I thought it could have been Abernathy. I did not think it was Ed Harris at all. Didn't even recognize him. So that worked really well when I watched the teaser last week and was like, I don't know what that is. Because then coming into this scene, I was never like, oh, he's about to get shot and lead to that shot I saw. So it was a really odd shot though. Yeah, it definitely didn't look like him. But yeah, when they shot him, I was like, fuck. Like I wrote in my notes like, Lawrence shoots and ... we kill Man in Black ? Like,
I honestly thought he was done for.
I thought he was done for. I was like, there's no way he can come back from that. And with the whole thing about him being alive, like I will get angry depending on how they explain it. You know? Like you can do it well enough, and I'll be like, okay.
I have faith in them to do it well, but I don't see how they could do it well.
Yeah, I know. That's
and then they cut out his head and take his little red ball.
I mean, if they go that route, well, actually, if they go any route that involves him becoming like put into the server or anything like that, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like you can have him barely survive long enough to go that route. Fucking put him in the room or whatever. But if they're just going to walk along, put some bandages of him on him, and he like sleeps for 3 days straight or some of that crap, and it's like, oh, you're better now. No, it's not how it works. Like, you see where he got shot? Like, fucking...
Exactly.
That's not how it works, but we'll find out next week, or maybe they don't show him next week. Maybe we won't find out until the fucking season finale. Like, we have no confirmation we'll actually see
wait
him.
through season 3.
Yeah, have to wait for season 3. It's the last time we see him. That would be fucking bold, actually. So he shoots him, and then humans come in on their buggy. These are the humans that Sizemore called at the end of last week on his little radio, to which I did make an argument. I'm like, who's coming for him? But he must be important enough to still have some sway, I suppose. But
I suppose he's a high up.
He's higher up. He was like the main story writer, whatever, next to Ford. So other than Ford, so Ford got like the last say, but he was the main story writer, I guess. So they come in, they like mow down Lawrence, buy Lawrence. Should be the last time we see him because we're going by the theory that anyone that dies is not coming back because in the future timeline they're still gathering up the bodies. They're not bringing back people when they haven't fixed the problem yet. So Lawrence is gone for the season. Bye, Lawrence. R.I.P.
For good, I think.
It was good.
Considering what happens later.
What do you mean? Like
when they
go back.
Cradle.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. It's like, what are you going to do with him at that point? Like, what are you doing with this character? So yeah, it was
a cool character, but he served his
and he went out on a really cool moment. Yeah. He was awakened, he died.
Oh, I'm a bit upset he didn't say motherfucker. But he has the whole fucking show.
The whole time, yeah. And then Maeve's daughter, this is also in slow motion. It was a kind of cool scene I liked. Mows down Lawrence, humans, Ghost Station comes around the corner on the horses. They pick up the Maeve's daughter. It's funny how, because, like, did you see the and I'll talk about this.
Yeah, I did see it.
I'll talk about this a little bit at the end to see what you think. But it's interesting with the knowledge that next week's episode is going to be about how that main Ghost Nation dude is awakened. From what we can get from that. Is so after Maeve's daughter, because that means like it's not a storyline thing. Yeah. Because up until this point, you're kind of like their storyline to get her is so integral.
I saw a theory. I don't know if you want to go into it or not about him. There's one flashback, like there's him walking on the outside, and it like switches between him in paint and not in paint.
Yeah, yep. I saw that.
That at one point in the story, whatever, he used to be Maeve's husband, and that was the father of the girl.
Yep, I can buy it.
And because it doesn't make sense that, like, if they're meant to emulate reality, that a fucking
Yeah, like
she'd be
who
out
was
in the
the
wilderness
father?
by herself in a cabin with a daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's never talked about having.
Exactly.
I can buy it. I can see that being a thing. We'll come back to that teaser trailer at the end. But yeah, I like that. And then Maeve is also shot down by the humans as she's screaming about her daughter being taken.
Which was another fucking shock.
Yeah, I know. You're like,
I thought she was done for. Like,
I thought she was done for too. I was like, fuck, Maeve is gone as well. Like her whole big storyline. We went through all the fucking Shogun world, like all this stuff we went through, and then she just gets killed. But then at the same time, I was ready to accept it, kind of like, well, that's just what happens. Like, you've kind of fucked up, Maeve, with your whole chasing after your daughter thing. Because I'm kind of on Dolores' side later in the episode, which we'll talk about. But you know, so she's Sizemore comes in and saves her as the guy's like presumably about to like shoot her in the head as like a
I don't even understand what he was doing. Was he going there to save her?
well, I suppose yes. Like I presume.
But then why wouldn't he say, "Don't shoot her"?
Well,
It
I
is
suppose the
right-
guy just did it. Like he was just shooting everyone, and then Sizemore was like, "No, don't shoot it." Because I suppose it's maybe he was gonna like shoot him in the brain, like they'll fucking stop you. Because of course, if they shoot the actual brain, they're done for. But like she only had shots in the body. Anyway, picks her up. They take her away. And then as they're driving off, we get the reveal that the Man in Black has crawled over to some barrels and sitting there bleeding out. Who, his daughter's probably going to come along and save him. You're right, and they're going to have some big father-daughter moment or something along those lines. I guess that's just the way.
Thanks for saving me, Ford.
Yeah. Thanks for saving me, Ford. Like, I don't know why you did that. I don't know why you made the story decision to shoot me, but thanks for saving me now. It's like, you're fucking so delusional, old man. Can't wait for that. It's going to be great. We get back to Bernard and Ford. They're walking up to the building that Arnold built for his family within the park that we find out. So this is where he was going to take his whole family to stay. I presume
No. He built it first in the park, and then they built it outside.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess it was like a test of the building.
Test
I
building.
guess, in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the origin of the park.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like here is ground zero. Is this building? And there's a lot of stuff that happens in here, and I'm going to admit that the last line that Ford says I didn't quite catch.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. But Ford explains that he wants Bernard to understand why he's so different and where the whole process started. And they go into this building, and he explains the whole thing about how they tested Bernard here, and Dolores was there, and they weren't sure about, like, she would always know it wasn't actually Arnold and point out all these things. But then they got to the point where it was like close enough, but then they had to separate Dolores because she was the person who was closest to Arnold, and she could always tell the difference that it wasn't actually him.
Except he said they only fooled her one time.
Yeah. Which
I imagine is the current iteration.
The current iteration, I suppose. Yeah. But then the whole thing with me is like they're testing it to be Arnold, but then it's like it's Bernard. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to make it Arnold, but then the person running around in the park, who we're presuming is the model that tested perfectly as Arnold, is in fact not being played off as Arnold. It is legit just he's a person called Bernard. But if we're gonna go by the theory that like Ford wiped this history of what Arnold looked like in the park, because that's kind of the theory that you have to use to understand why no one knows what he looks like and why Bernard looks like him, then at that stage, if he's wiping what he looks like he could have just called him Arnold. You know, it's weird. It's just there's a lot going on with Bernard Arnold.
Maybe there's something to do with him. I don't know. Maybe then calling him Arnold or something like that would maybe
trigger something
or something like that.
Yeah, fuck something. So maybe, but
or the fact that it's not an actual. It's Arnold in essence, but it's not actually Arnold, I guess.
Yeah, but is it Arnold though? That's my biggest question. Is
I don't think it is, because I don't think they copied his head, his consciousness before he died.
So they kind of, from what I could gather, they got the people closest to him. They went back through records of like all this sort of stuff. They used what they could, like photos, videos, memories, people who know him, to like recreate his consciousness and what he is, and then created that as a program somehow and put that in, and that's the Bernard we got now. And they kept tweaking it and testing it, little bits here and there, using Dolores as the testing grounds to be like, it has to be Arnold, it has to be Arnold, it has to be Arnold. So the question then becomes, even though they didn't copy his brain exactly, but if they've gone through and tried to literally recreate him, then is it not the same as copying it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I like to think of it as an essence of him, not him exactly.
yeah, it's like 98% or something, I suppose. But that last couple of percent would only be if it was a direct copy from his actual brain, I guess. But either way, at this stage, we kind of have to say that the Bernard running around is
Bernard.
Bernard, yes. Bernard. Yes, very good. So they explain all this stuff, and then Ford shuts Bernard. I didn't understand, like, the whole building closed in, the lights closed, because Ford has control of everything, you know, of course, in this place.
The way I think of it, I forget what he said. Like I said, I didn't catch what you said. I didn't catch it exactly, but it's something like, I don't know, I'm sorry, or I'm taking you, or something like that, and just jacks himself into him.
Yeah, and he jacks himself into him. And then, because after this, we cut back to the room. Elsie's there. Oh, what's going on?
Back in his head
my favorite part, and this is only for people watching live and YouTube viewers. If you're listening to audio, you miss it. Was how I quite liked how Elsie took his glasses, and instead of just holding onto him, she'd put him in nicely on a shirt there. I don't know why I found that so weird, because usually in TV shows,
I didn't even notice.
Did you? She had it like chucked into a shirt there like that, and I just found it like. I feel like that's an actor's choice that I appreciate it, because normally whenever I see people take other people's glasses, and as someone who wears glasses, whenever I see someone take people's glasses in TV shows or movies, if they're like, here, hold these, like as they're going into surgery or something, they always like put them in their pocket or something. And I'm like, you're going to fucking break them. Like, they want them back. But so as a glasses wearer, I appreciated her protecting, just like having them over the shirt there. That was quite a nice moment. Thank you, Elsie, being a great character, looking after the glasses. I think she's actually one of my favorite characters in the show, just because she's like on no one's side, you know what I mean? She's just
actually
there.
We don't even know what happened to her, because she kind of just disappeared.
She disappears, and she better come back and like
she goes back to dental school.
No, please no. I saw someone I did see someone on Twitter like say dental. There's a technological world or something, and that's where she's gone. She's gone to a different park that actually has a dental school.
Teeth World.
So Bernard gets his brain put back inside himself. System. Elsie says like the system's debugged itself. Whatever was the problem there, it's fixed itself. You did it. Good job. He's like, did what?
Yeah.
Not did what? Like, of course he's doing.
This is where we go to confuse Bernard.
Yeah, we go to confuse Bernard, because he's now got two consciousness inside his head, which I presume is a big problem to put up with.
He's gone a whole Abernathy.
A rocket mummy in chat, is she even real or a host herself? Elsie, I believe, is 100% good old fashioned human. Yeah. There's no way about it. 100% has to be.
None of them new host people taking our jobs.
No. She's just a character, and the fact that she was left there with a granola bar and whatever the fuck else when she was in the cave, like she's human. So yeah, she's like, let's get the fuck out of here. Good job. Let's go save the place. And then
so did Ford tell Bernard to leave her there, and then he dragged Clementine there. All this to lead Bernard to the Crucible or whatever, the Cradle, to upload himself.
It seems so.
That's a lot of things to go right. That could so easily go wrong.
Yeah, but then he has like other hosts. I suppose it's like if it's like he has the park. He's in the Cradle. He can fiddle with things to make it work. Like you want to think about that random moment when brunette girl from Dolores in that episode like dragged him to the cave.
Clementine.
Yeah, Clementine. It's like, why did she drag him there? It's like, well, Ford's in the Cradle. He probably controls.
That really was weird, wasn't it? Because nobody noticed she'd gone.
No one noticed she'd gone.
As far as anyone knew, that she was under Dolores's control.
She literally drags him there, walks off, doesn't say anything. But I suppose you kind of just have to go, well, that was because Ford in the Cradle was quickly like, take control of this one, drag him over here, put her back to where, like, literally takes control of her for a second or something.
Like an RTS.
Yeah, sure. So then we cut back to Stubbs and Charlotte and the rest of the crew. They're all in the Abernathy room. Yeah. And Stubbs spits the gooey here. Stubbs has had enough. He's had enough of this secretive shit. He's had enough of this Charlotte. Had it up to here. Puts a gun to Abernathy's head, says, tell me what the fuck is going on, or I'm going to shoot whatever you need. And of course, Charlotte is not going to have Abernathy shot because she needs Abernathy. And it looks, we're getting to a stage where you think that she's going to say something. Like her lips are quivering. She knows that she has to actually say something. She can't let him get shot in the head because that's like her way out. Without him, she's probably fucked like everyone else. So, and her lips kind of quiver a little bit. And then of course Dolores and the rest of them burst into the room and interrupt the whole situation. Luckily for Charlotte, not luckily for Stubbs.
Not to do with that. The whole thing doesn't make sense that we're not going to send anyone in until you get Abernathy. That seems like the most counterproductive way to get Abernathy back. You'd think they'd send in everything they fucking have. Like, they're arguably the most powerful company in the world, so they'd have the biggest fucking private military they could afford. Just send it in, kill everyone, and fucking get Abernathy.
Is it? Because we still don't know what the real world looks like. Or like politically or landscape wise or anything like that in Westworld. Is it potentially because if they sent too many people in, like an army of people, that it would just attract too much media attention if there is a actual media in the world?
I guess so.
Because so far they've literally sent in 5-6 dudes in parachutes.
Yeah.
You know, they ship, I suppose, like a small ship of people in the future timeline comes off the beach shore there. But so far, it's like not many people, and maybe it's to not attract the media attention, depending on what you want to say the real world actually looks like.
Yeah, I guess so. It just seems so very... If it's really that important to it and they can't let it get out at all, you'd think they'd risk it.
Well, I suppose... Or if you have a boat show up on the shore, like, come here, we'll pick up all the humans, take you off. Like, is it them worry about hosts sneaking onto a ship, escaping to the real world type scenario? You know,
I guess so.
It's just not safe to do it. For the risk. I mean, there's reasons you can kind of make up in your head, I suppose. They haven't really explained it in the show though. So then Dolores comes in and says, "I heard your men put something in my father's head, a key for a treasure." And then Charlotte says, "You wouldn't even know what to do if you had it." And then Dolores says, "Oh, I know exactly what to do." No,
before that comes in, she does start to tell stuff.
Oh, barely.
She says it's an encryption key, and he gets it. Then he goes, "What is it, decrypt or something like that?" And that's when they bust.
That's when she gets cut up. Yeah, so he knows it's a key, but I mean, we already know that he knows it's key from the future timeline. Like we know later that either he's first learning that information then, or he's already knew it. So it was like, whatever. Yeah. As far as we know in the future timeline, he still doesn't know what the key's exactly for. So
it's a wonder they've also kept him around after his fucking outburst like that too.
Well, he's another dude, so sure. And the person who hates him the most dies shortly later in this episode. So
I feel like Charlotte would hate him after that.
Well, he kind of saved her. He like shoved her in that elevator later and took off with her. So maybe he gets a bit of a free pass for a while. Then we go back to Bernard and Ford, and they're walking down the corridor, and then Ford tells him to send Elise on her way, and he has to come up with a reason to get rid of her. He does a pretty good job. I'll give him that. As a lie, it's kind of like, we have to get to the Valley Beyond. That's where everyone's trying to go. Blah blah blah. We need to get down there. Go get us a car and some weapons. I'll meet you down there in a second. I've got to fucking do something. Blah blah blah. And she's like, all right, no problem. Meet you down there, and off she goes. Now Ford's like, come with me. We're going this way.
But before they go, they got they walk into the room and the two security guards are there. And they go, "Who are you? Where did you come from?"
Isn't that
like I work here.
I thought that was later.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I thought she was present then.
No, it's later.
Sorry, later, yeah.
That's with the gun down moment, like the shooting moment. Yeah, that's later. So after this, though, we cut to the big shootout scene with Clementine and the other one. Yeah. The capos, quote unquote capos of the army. So Clementine is like there, bang, bang, bang. Pretty cool scene. I'll give it that. Pretty cool scene. She's like, bang, shoots this person, shoots this person. The other one goes down. The blonde girl gets shot. Clementine has like some sort of emotion seeing her get shot. She's like, fuck no, my friend. Bang, bang, goes out. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool shootout scene, I thought. So Clementine's dead. The other one dies shortly after this. So Dolores' main capos are dead in this episode, but it's fine.
I feel like they were intended to die.
Yeah, I suppose. They were cool characters, though. I thought those two girls looked pretty badass. Especially the blonde girl, I thought was fucking badass.
I don't think Clementine, she was mostly like a zombie the whole time.
The whole time, yeah. She like dragged in that body when they went to four line or whatever. Four line hope.
Forlorn hope.
They, she didn't really say that much, I suppose. The blonde girl said a lot more.
Yeah.
They come back to Dolores and she says, now it's you who wants to become like this, become like us. Dolores just straight away implying that she understands what the key's for, what the system's for. I suppose we are going to say that this is because she has all her memories back now and William showed her. Like, that's what they would have been building in that scene we've got where he's digging up the ground. So I suppose that's why she knows what it is. That's why she knows what the Valley Beyond is, blah, blah, blah. Charlotte legitimately looks shocked in that scene. I feel like she was a bit shocked that she understood what's going on there. Rocket Mummy in the chat says that she thinks those two were implied to be in a relationship. I didn't get that personally, but I can buy it. Sure, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
If the robots can get free will, they can free will their way into a gay romance too. They're not just programmed to be straight.
Is it gay though? Do they really have genders?
Oh, they're given genders, so I suppose. Robots have no genders, okay. Hashtag.
They're all pansexual. Sure.
I don't know. I have enough trouble understanding things to show, let alone the robot's sexuality. So down at the cradle, the blonde girl has crawled away or ran off after Clementine died, and she's kind of just staring at the cradle. Now, I don't know what she was trying to do in this scene. Like, until this guy comes in, I don't know what her plan is. She's kind of just staring at the cradle going, have to destroy it. Dolores said to destroy this. And Charlotte thinks that Dolores is there to steal their backups. Dolores' plan is to destroy the backups so they can finally be free, like feel legitimate. Like they're
I think
one
there was
life.
a quote earlier on, like I forget who said it, was like, if there's no loss, are you truly alive or free or something like that?
Yeah. So with her destroying the backups, they're on their one life system basically. So they're more human like now. That once they die, they turned off God mode. Yeah. So the girl's standing there. She doesn't know what she's really doing. I don't know what she's doing either. So then
this whole scene
was weird. But it's fine. So you got dickhead army bro dude or whatever walk in, and he of course doesn't just shoot her because
because he's just literally all his friends die from murderous robots, where she was one of them. He fucking comes up. Oh my god!
So of course he walks up to her and says, "Hey, beautiful," or something like. Too bad you're not leaving with any of your backups, as he very much flirts with her. And then she, because she's a lot smarter than him, because this guy's a fucking idiot.
Because he's the fucking security forces, and they're all absolutely.
She begins flirting back with him. Although this leads to a really cool fucking moment, I thought. Like, really cool moment. It was one of my favorite moments. It was like Samuel L. Jackson motherfucker moment when she flirts with him back, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, "Oh, you're really pretty." And she's like, "Well, I'm designed to be pretty," and blah, blah, blah. She was badass. Like, and that actress that plays her was fucking great in this scene. Like,
the lines would have been great and perfect if it happened somewhere else. This whole thing.
I don't understand why he didn't just shoot her, but
exactly
within the character of the show, we pretty much agree that at this stage, everyone that works for Delos forces are fucking imbeciles.
Exactly.
Idiots. I don't know. He should have shot her straight away, but he didn't because he's an idiot. And he walks up to her and is like, "I'll attempt to fuck the killer robot." Like, I don't understand at all. But it did lead to a really cool moment where she pulls out the pin of his grenade and then says, "Welcome to Westworld," as they fucking blow up. That was cool. I thought that was
Arnold
really
Schwarzenegger
cool.
Movie. Fucking.
I thought it was cool. I liked it. I thought it was badass for her. And then they cut back to Dolores, and she's about to cut Charlotte's head open, which I was like, we know that's not going to happen because we've seen the future timeline. But that's
unless Charlotte's a host.
Unless Charlotte was actually a host, that would have been fucking weird. Yeah. So they're about to cut it open, and then shooting happens outside. She sends Teddy out there, and then she goes back to do it again, and then Abernathy comes back to
he comes to or something
two
like
as like actual
Dolores, they put things in my head.
Yeah, they put the little things in my head. It's like the Charlotte's ass is saved multiple times, like somehow. Teddy heads out there dual pistol like to tie it into the Matrix again.
He got
like
the
Neo
mod
out of the
that
Matrix.
Maeve should have got.
Yeah, he's like dual pistols, bang, 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 just fucking shooting everyone. And then, as all this is happening, Charlotte and Stubbs manage to escape somehow, just because whatever, they jump in the elevator, they take off because they needed to, because we know they survive. So because everyone's distracted. Big army dude, bro dude, who showed up last week, who you liked and I didn't really like, because he was just like fucking this, fucking that, fucking shit, fucking. I was like, just shut up, dude. He has a fight with Teddy, appears to be winning the fight with Teddy. And he's like, die, motherfucker, or something like that. And I was like, oh, God, you're about to die. Yeah. You're not going to die. That's the line. You're not killing Teddy. Teddy then 180s on top of him and beats his face into a nice bloody pulp. Because Teddy, of course, is now in serial killer mode or something. Yeah. So he just goes full on. That was quite good. Although I wanted to see it, I was like, be brave. Show me the fucked up face. Let's go horror movie-esque here. Show me what you did to him. But they
thought he was going to do the whole fucking mountain to the Viper thing.
Like just pop the eyes out? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can tell it sounded...
Game Bowl confirmed.
Game Bowl. So they go back to Dolores. Her and her father exchange a few loving words, and then pretty much he says, just fucking kill me. Like, I've had enough of this. And she's like, yes, daddy. Yes, daddy, thank you.
My whole fucking arc has been, I need to save my dad no matter what.
But now,
that's right. I'll just fucking cut your head open.
I'll cut your head open. Well, I mean, if you're gonna go like he says, please do it. Basically, he says, just kill me. It's nice to know she at least had permission. That's like what he wanted, I suppose. It makes more sense than if she just randomly killed him without him getting to talk to him. But she's like, I'll do it. Then she gets open the thing and she cuts out the brain. Quote unquote, whatever we call a host brain. It's really a USB drive. A little circular, apple-shaped USB drive. Sizemore and his team then arrive back at base. They've got Maeve and everyone else like that. Idiot thinks everything would be a lot safer there. Dickhead, it wasn't safe there when you left there last time, was it? Like, no. I don't know if he could remember. It's weird because he's like, I'll get back here, it'll be safe. It's like, dickhead. You literally got picked up from that place because the host just walked in like, exactly. Fine. I just walked into this place. I don't know why he thought you'd get back there and it'll just be a lot safer, but
maybe because he thought they picked him up. Maybe he didn't realize he was going back there.
Maybe. Oh, it was weird. Like you thought
just the timeline goes, he calls them, they come and pick him up, they go get Maeve, and then they go back.
Yeah.
It's not like he's been there. I don't know.
That was weird.
And the guards would have gone like, oh, it's all good now, mate. We're fucking cleared it out.
Yeah, but no. You'd think they would have said something along the way, yeah. But as soon as they get there, all the people with him basically run off to go help try and shoot down Dolores and her people, of course, on the fight that's happening, and he's left there with Maeve, and he's like, oh, look what I'm going to do. And then we get to Bernard, and Bernard's in the map room now as Ford is monologuing, basically. Like, it's not really relevant information at this stage. He's kind of...
It goes all, what's the closest analog I can think of? Batman and the Joker in Arkham Knight. Yeah,
like he's just behind him talking crap, and it's pretty cool scene. Like so you've got Dolores's people just killing, the humans in the room and blah blah blah. A few slow motion shots, stuff that we'd seen in the main trailer for this season of people getting killed in that room. Although I'm like, why is no one killing Bernard? Like
exactly.
Neither side is.
Before that, this is what I was going to say that. He's walking up to wherever they're going, and fucking the two security guards come around and go, "Who are you? What? I just work here. How'd you get down here? This was locked down." Like, they're clearly their job is to shoot everything that moves. But Bernard seems to get in and out of all these kind of things.
I don't know. It's weird. So Ford then leads him over to the computer system, some sort of computer system. And then he says, I keep telling Bernard, it's no longer my story, because Bernard is like, is this the story you're trying to build towards? Like, he's watching other people get killed, and he's like, is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted out of all this? And then Ford shows him a way to shut down the remaining of the system. And then Bernard says, well, that will give Dolores full reign to do basically whatever she wants. And he's like, yeah. That's fine. Do it. YOLO. Do what you need to do. And then Bernard proceeds to shut down the system. You see the map go offline, blah, blah, blah. What exactly these systems are,
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Isn't she doing whatever she wants anyway?
Yeah, but I suppose it's like security systems in the park.
I guess, yeah.
Is it just Westworld? Is it all of the parks?
Yeah, another thing, is that Cradle just for all the Westworld hosts, or is it all the hosts?
It must be, because it's like only Westworld. So I presume each different park has its own Cradle and its own hub station and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Although we've seen the Samurai's been worked on in the thing. It's like, they could share a space for some. Like, maybe they do certain repairs there, the whatever. But
you would think it would be like a centralized location.
Yeah, and you think, but I don't know. But I suppose we'll find out. I mean, they can retcon that easy enough and just be like, well, they shut down everything to do with every park. But as far as we could see, it just shuts off the map for Westworld. But they could have shut off the map for all 6 plus. There could be more parks that we know.
I don't think it was just the map. I think it was everything all together.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything. Yeah. But what exactly that means for Dolores and what it helps her achieve, I don't know. Maybe it just means they won't be able to get more help, but we know in the future timeline that more help comes in anyway, so it's I don't it remains to be seen. So Sizemore back in the basement runs as Dolores makes her way back down, and she shoots some people, and Sizemore...
So have we already had the scene where Bernard picks up the gun and is shooting, and then it cuts to Ford shooting as well, where it's black and it lights up?
No, not in my notes, unless I've literally... No, there's no way I've wrote these notes in the wrong order, because these are like big paragraphs. So no, I still haven't got to that scene. Like, literally, it's the last scene before we go back to the future timeline, according to my notes. Okay. Unless I went like weird and I've like moved them, but I don't see how that could happen.
The timeline's fucked up in my head.
Yeah, it's fine. You're like so on this scene. You're like every time you're like, have we got to that yet? Have we got to that yet? But no, apparently we haven't got to that. So Dolores walks down and they're about to head back to the horses and get the fuck out of there. They've got the brain. You can see it in her hand. She's got
Sizemore runs away.
Sizemore runs away. She spots Maeve. She goes over and has a little one-to-one talk with Maeve. And
like, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, this is great. I'm in a better position than you, though. Fuck you, lady. But Dolores basically tells her, in more words than less, that she should just forget about her daughter, and like that was her problem.
Yeah,
because
it's another tether that they tie you down.
They tie you down with, or something like that. And then Maeve says, "Is that what you tell yourself to justify what you've done to him?" Like as she looks over at Teddy in the background, and Dolores. Then she wants to spare Maeve of the pain and whatever they'll do to her. She's like, they'll torture you to get information, they'll use you, blah, 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 blah. And she pulls out a gun. And then Maeve says, no, I want to still find my daughter, basically.
I made a promise.
I made a promise, which is the promise she made to her daughter, we're assuming she's implying. And then Dolores, in a weird line that I was like, but whatever. She says, you're free to choose your own choice of path. And I'm like... The 98%, once again, everyone but Teddy and a couple other people are free to choose their own path. But okay, whatever. She then puts the gun away and she leaves to go get the horses and leaves Maeve there just like, someone will help me. We know who's going to help her. Sizemore's going to come back after they leave and it's going to drag her up somewhere. So,
one of the things that bothers me is how them losing all their backups means that it's meant to simulate them being alive or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then where's the consequence if they die? They can just cut out their head and put it in someone else's body.
I suppose if it's that easy.
Unless it's like a zombie, like they've done it with Abernathy. Like unless it's like a zombie and they can just fucking, you have to shoot the head to kill them. But I don't know.
Could they just put his brain in another body and could it just work though? Like there might be a sync problem. I don't know. We don't know. We haven't actually seen.
What's to stop them printing another body of Abernathy?
Yeah, that's true. I guess. Well, I mean, it's as long as the brain isn't destroyed, you know? Like, you shoot the brain, you're dead, you've got no backup.
Yeah.
But they do have some sort of safe thing, I suppose. You're right, in that they can copy or take out the brain and then put it into a fresh body. You're right. But I feel like...
Which leads to a bigger theory that I got later.
Okay.
Because before Dolores leaves Tessa Thompson and Stubbs, she goes, I'm going to the Valley Beyond or wherever where you store all those souls you've collected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is all the...
Which leads to...
the server of information of people.
Yeah, which leads to the bigger theory that is that the Valley Beyond or whatever this place is is that they've got all these bodies printed of all the guests or hosts or whatever, guests that have been there, but they haven't been able to do the brain thing yet. And what they do is remove themselves, implant into them, and that's how they get into the real world.
Slow down, go again.
So they remove their own control units like Dolores and Teddy and all that. They get implanted into, theoretically, the big warehouse where they've got all these previous guests printed ready to go.
Yeah.
Put it in that, and that's how they get into the real world. And that's why there was all the dead bodies at the beginning end of the first episode in the lake.
Okay, but then how's Bernard? He's the one. Bernard says I did that. Like, does he get involved?
Maybe he's implying that he would let them do that by shutting down all the Sims.
Why wasn't Dolores' body there?
We don't know if it was there because there was more under the water.
That's true. You're right. Good point. Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, I can buy that as a theory. It would be really interesting because there's only so many seasons you can do
in the park.
In the park, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like you can't, unless they go whole fucking Jurassic Park and they rebuild the park again and they go fucking loose.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna.
That'd be stupid.
But with that theory, it is kind of like okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they could literally have them go to a completely different park next season and have to work through that park and its systems and challenges to get
I think the show is better than that.
I think it is better than that, but that's just like a refresh of the scenery. But yeah, I'm kind of like
that could be an interesting thing to go with season 3, like
them out in the real world,
something like that.
Yeah. Well, then if they're only doing 4 or 5 seasons, in their head, season 3 they're out. And they're out for season 3 for. Season 5, they put him back in the park. I don't know, like, but yeah, okay.
It's like nothing ever happened.
Nothing ever happened. It's fine. So now we get to the scene that you was on about. So they're walking through the corridor. Bernard. I say they because Bernard's with Ford, but
is that after all that?
Well, according to my timeline of notes.
Oh, okay. I just before he went into the big control room.
Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't understand how.
No, you're probably right. It's just in my head. It makes sense because I thought the control room was the last time we saw.
No, they leave him on this as the last thing because it's the big like epic time you see them. I suppose. Okay. So they're walking away, and then these guards come up to him, and they're like, "What are you doing?" As you said, they're like, "What are you doing in this corridor?" Like, blah, blah, blah. And Bernard's like, "I work here."
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then as they're standing there, literally as he's having a gun pointed at him, Ford's like, "Pick up the dead man's gun," and Bernard's like. And then the guy's like, okay, you're good to go. Checked him over. I don't know what he checked him for exactly. Like how he checked that he wasn't a host or anything like that. I have no fucking clue. Anyway, the guys attempt to continue.
This check obviously doesn't work.
It doesn't work. They continue sweeping up the other end of the corridor. And then Ford once again. This is weird though, because like Ford is literally just wanting to, I don't know, test what he can do with Bernard, or he literally is...
He's limited his control, how much control he has over him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because it's like he literally just wants these people dead. And they've left them alone. They're walking around the corner. He's not like, okay, we're safe, it's fine. Even as they're walking around the corner, Ford is still like, pick up the dead man's gun. And Bernard then like talks out loud because
he says, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Like, I don't want to hurt any more people. And, blah, blah, and then the guy turns around and is like, what the fuck did you fucking say? He's like, ah. And then somehow... I mean, I don't understand how it all works. I don't know how he.
I think there's gunshots in the distance, so they get distracted and go towards it.
Or so, and then like it's edited together, cool. You see the whole. It is a cool moment where like the lights flicker and you see Bernard there with the gun shooting, and then they also have Ford next to him also shooting at the same time, implying it's like the control.
It's very reminiscent of I can't off the top of my head, but I know it's been done similarly before in a similar kind of scenario. Maybe it was like Fight Club or something like that.
Yeah, where you can see the person controlling like next to him, mimicking, but they're not actually there. Yeah, it was a cool scene, but I don't know how Bernard wasn't actually shot during the whole thing, but whatever. Also, they're mowing down 2 people, acting like they're mowing down 50, kind of like it's 2 people. It's you're done. You kill them. It's fine. And then after that, we get all these flashing of memories. Bernard's flashing back, remembering Arnold, like remembering his actual kids, his bunch of stuff he's remembering, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, where in the timeline are we? And then you start seeing stuff that's more after this. And it's because we're now flashing back to Bernard in the future timeline. Yep. And he awakens and he says, Charlotte's still interrogating him, invites everyone into the room. And then he says that the control unit is in Sector 16 Zone 4, which is the Valley Beyond. And we know that because that's where they said they're going later.
Yeah.
And that's also a zone that they've talked about before. Like when they said this, I was like, I've heard this before, like in the show. But so then the Goldilocks dude that's in the future timeline, Vikings dude, sorry. He walks in and he's like, we're going for a ride, Bernard. We're going to the Valley Beyond. Yeah. And that's kind of where we wrap up the episode. So Dolores has the key. In the present timeline, and she's on horseback, presumably heading to the Valley Beyond. Like, that's where else is she going to go after what?
Why didn't they just take the buggies that were in the garage?
Hasn't learnt to drive, I guess. I don't know.
They can work out modern weapons. And they can work out the tablets and stuff.
She looked pretty badass in that couple second shot they had her on horseback, riding out of the facility. Though that with the music in the background, I was like, it was pretty badass. So.
Well, that's a big thing that's understated about Westworld, is that they actually do the western part really well as well.
Yeah, well, they always have, especially the first season, like when they didn't have so much of the current gen tech stuff, and it was just a lot of the western stuff happening. Yeah, it's done really, really well. So she's presumably going to the Valley Beyond in the present timeline.
After she's done a side quest, she's back onto her main
onto her main quest, yes. Something has to stop her. We don't really know. I don't know who's going to stop her at this stage. That's the thing. I'm like, who interrupts her mission?
In a wheelchair.
Fuck, please no. But then in the future timeline, Bernard is heading there with the rest of them now. So, I mean, next week we're not going to find out what's happening because I don't think we're...
It almost felt like a season finale, to be honest.
Pretty much, yeah. So I think we're not going to find out what's happening with these characters until at least episode 9, I suppose, or even 10 at this stage.
I reckon at least one episode is going to be a past episode.
Well, I mean, next week's is technically going to be a past episode.
Yeah.
So the trailer, and this is the last thing I want to talk about in this episode before we wrap up this rather long one, but the trailer for next week has the Ghost Nation main dude. And from what we see, it is going to be an origin story for him, basically. Yeah. And we're finally going to get an explanation of Ghost Nation, what happened to them, what's going on. But you've got this dude who seems to awaken himself, or someone else has awakened him, or something along those lines. It's like you see these shots of him, as we talked about before, like walking through the town. You also see the shot of him walking up to the dead body of Arnold.
Yeah.
When he's shot, and then I
don't think it was Arnold. I think it was Ford.
I thought it was a shot of both, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and both.
I distinctly remember Ford. It could be both
because they kept doing the whole flicking timeline thing. So I think next week's episode, as far as I can tell, just based on the trailer solely, is just going to be an entire episode of him. Which I'm happy with. I'm happy for that.
It'd be funny if it was just 5 minutes of pre-credits thing. That's it.
No, please. After 30 seconds, please no. But I'm really intrigued and interested in that because Ghost Nation, of course, is something that we've had a lot in this season, and they were in season 1 as this big mystery, like level 5 ultimate boss. Like stay away from them. You don't really know what's going on, and then come back and forward. We don't really know much about them. And we're finally going to learn about them. And of course, the main dude that we're going to be following is, of course, the host that we saw in the season as well. He was in the room with the meeting with William. So he's one of the early ones they created, like Gen 1, if you want to call it that, I suppose. So I'm really intrigued at that. What do you think we're going to get out of it next week?
I don't know. The promo doesn't really give a whole lot away, and I can't really discern a whole lot from it. Because it's very surreal with the cutting, constant cutting and stuff. Yeah,
the cutting seems to imply it's just gonna cover a lot of ground to me. That's why I think it's gonna be the whole episode.
And I want Ghost Nation to be as satisfying, because at the moment, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense what's going on.
Well, whatever we get out of next week's episode has to tie in and give us information that's going to be relevant going forward, it has to reveal something or explain something that is relevant, and not just why are they stealing Maeve's daughter. It has to be beyond that. Kind of has to be a bit more why were they trying to steal Sizemore that one time.
There's another thing that's banking on that theory about they're collecting all the hosts, the guests that are alive, so I don't know, it banks on the theory that they go into the real world and the other hosts that they know definitely that these are alive and they're not hosts, I guess.
Mm. Maybe
That's that's what I read, but that's kind of like
it's kind of
having foresight into what's going to happen too. So
there's also like in the present timeline for them, they've still got like a bunch of humans, including Stubbs.
yeah,
How Stubbs gets away from them there and ends up back in the future timeline. Or did he already escape?
no, he already escaped.
Oh, that's right, he did escape because he already got out. But they've still got a bunch of humans there.
Yeah, they do.
They had a heap of them. So it's like, why are they gathering up them? Why are they gathering up Maeve's daughter?
Yeah.
All this sort of stuff. And the part that interests me is because we know he's awakened, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not a storyline thing now. Because up until the point in this where we kind of learn that it's being done by choice, you could kind of play it all off as Ghost Nation's still following a storyline that they're pre-programmed to do, but whatever they're doing by choice for whatever reason, which is the interesting part.
Yeah, because you see he has a partner and the partner gets taken away by lab techs in a buggy. He witnesses that.
Which one? Oh yeah, he walks down.
Promo,
like he walks down. He tries to chase after him. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So you're gonna have a character I feel like we're going to get a lot of information simply because it's going to span like that lot.
I think my prediction is that he sees that, he goes on his own self-exploratory journey and finds out what Delos is, and then, I don't know, actively works against them, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it either way. This was a really great episode, obviously, and I just don't, it's, you know, season finale level. I'm kind of like...
3.5 hours of the show per episode.
We're going to get to a stage where they're going to be very long. It depends on what's happening, but there'll be a lot to discuss. Thank you for joining us once again for this week's episode of BevanWorld. If you've been watching along on Twitch, thank you, Rock and Mummy, as always, for being in the chat to chat along with us. Number one fan of BevanWorld. We appreciate it. It's fun to talk about. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, thank you. You can drop a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. If you're listening on the audio version, you still have nothing. I still literally have nothing to tell you what to do. Thank you. Head on over to explosionnetwork.com. Do things there. You can follow Nick at Lord Empire on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at BevanWorld, VIVALADIL. You can check out explosionnetwork.com. Once again, head on over to Twitter at ExplosionPod. That's our Twitter, where we post up when we're going to go live, because it varies sometimes because we have real jobs and things and stuff, and it's horrible. It gets in the way of the Westworld talk. It does. It's really annoying. But thank you once again. Until next week. Give me a hot slogan to end on, Nick. Don't swipe right.
Cut out your control unit.
Cut out your control unit. Thank you once again. Bye bye.